Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have a pretty interesting one. It's one that I know a lot of you have not heard about because every time I show this, like I've put it in the last couple of live videos and people ask a lot of questions about it. This is the American Buffalo Knife and Tool Warthog, a budget knife from American Buffalo Knife and Tool. About $45. You're getting D2 ball bearings, G10, kind of the same sort of stuff that you would expect, but a pretty interesting company. You can find them at abktinc.com. Go check them out there. They have a couple different lines. They have roper knives, which are usually like kind of traditional sort of stuff, cattleman's cutlery, and this elite series. All of them pretty budget priced. This one struck me the most. I saw it on Instagram. I asked very nicely if I could get my hands on one, and they said sure, and they sent it to me. So yeah, disclosure, this is provided by the manufacturer. Pretty cool knife. I was most intrigued by the blade shape on this one. It's got this sheep's foot sort of blade, and it just looks pretty cool. And I just wanted to get my hands on it and check one out. It's a company I've never checked out before, and it's pretty neat. $45. It's $44.99 if you want to be specific. Not horribly overpriced. Overall construction, kind of what you'd expect. It is made overseas, made in China. You have D2 steel, pretty common at this price range for overseas made knives, running on ball bearings. They call it their ABKT ball bearing system. I don't know, it didn't look that much different than most other ball bearings that I see when I took it apart. Very nicely done G10 handles. Fairly thick stainless steel liner lock, and you have it's pretty well milled out inside too. I don't know if it's going to come across in the camera, but on the show side especially, very well milled out. And we'll get to the weight here in a bit, but it's not bad, under 4 ounces. In a pretty good size, full size folder. A lot of the things about this are kind of what you'd expect for a Chinese-made D2 flipper. Some of them aren't. There are a couple of really cool little things about this knife that I do really like a whole lot. That I think definitely makes it worth checking out. But before we get too far, let's do some specs and size comparisons and all that usual stuff. We have a blade length of 3.5 inches, overall length 7.8 inches. You have blade thickness of pretty thin at 0.12 inches. You have a handle thickness of dead on half an inch, and a weight, as I said, of 3.9 ounces. Very good balance too, by the way. I often forget to mention that. The balance in this knife is really outstanding. Do some size comparisons. We will start out with one of our usuals. We'll start out with just kind of line them up by the tips here. Spyderco Paramilitary 2. You can see it's just a little bit smaller than PM2. Another knife that's in very much the same kind of price category. Your Ontario Rat 1 D2. It's quite a bit smaller than that. The Rat 1's actually a pretty good sized knife. And lastly, we'll bring out the Kershaw Bare Knuckle. Just a little bit shorter than that. So yeah, it's just slightly under what you're getting in a lot of other full size EDC folders. Now, as far as looks go, like I said, this is kind of what attracts me to it. I think it looks really cool. I love the look of that blade. I love the look of the handle. I even like the look of the pocket clip. There's some other things I don't like about it. We'll get to in a bit. But the back spacer looks nice. It's a nice looking knife. I don't think you can deny that. Yeah, the printing on the blade is kind of just boring, generic. Select from a drop-down menu font, which I don't care for that. This AB046, I guess, must be the model number. And this ABKT bearing thing is pretty big. And as I said, they just look like normal bearings to me. I don't know what the difference is. There may be something special about them that I'm not knowing, but they look just kind of like normal bearings encased in plastic kind of thing that you'd expect to see on a knife of this price. But I think it's a handsome looking knife. The G10 is really, really nice. The G10 looks very expensive. Very, very well done there. As far as the quality goes, it's pretty darn good. Blade centering, perfect. Lockup's good. There's no blade play, any way at all. It's really, really good. And also taking it apart, super easy. Didn't have any problem at all taking it apart. Screws seem to be pretty good quality. It wasn't Loctited to death like you see sometimes on budget knives. Worked really well. the blade on this is one of the things I like the most. Not only do I like just the shape of it, I really like a good sheep's foot. And not only does it look cool, thin blade stock, 0.12 inches, very good for EDC sort of work, and pretty thin behind the edge, 17 or 18 thousandths behind the edge. The grind is even. It slices really, really well. It doesn't look like it would, but it definitely does. It kind of, this blade shape, I don't know, just makes a lot of sheep's foots are kind of, beefy. This one isn't. Very good EDC blade. Excellent. You don't get a lot of piercing, of course, but man, I really like the blade on this. It is a pleasure to use, definitely. Very, very well done on the blade, I do have to say. As far as ergonomics go, that's really probably the only issue I have with this knife. It's mostly great. Like the handle shape is really good. This chimping up here is pretty much ornamental. It's so small as to not really do much at all. Like you can see, I can slide my fingers across and it's hardly even making a noise. But the biggest problem I have with it really is this pocket clip. That's a bit of a pretty extreme ramp, and you definitely do feel that. There's definitely a bit of a hot spot there in the middle of your palm when you grab it. Back part doesn't give you a hot spot at all. It's just that ramp. You could probably, adjust that if you wanted to. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, there's that. Or they could just shorten the clip up a little bit. Just where it lands. It's a pretty long clip, so it lands right here on my palm. If it landed, back here, I probably wouldn't notice it, wouldn't complain about it at all. Yeah, it's not a huge deal, but it's a deal for sure. On the deal scale, I would call it about a 5. So, yeah, of not being a big deal to being a huge deal. But other than that, it's all right. As far as the carry goes, carries really well. It is a bit tall. It's just the nature of how this blade fits in there. I was kind of thinking, man, they surely could have made that smaller, but really, the backspacer and all that, I'm not really sure how once I looked into it more. It does carry well. You can see you do have a whole lot of pocket clips sticking out because there's a whole lot of pocket clip on here, but it does carry very deep. The screws aren't recessed, but they do get out of the way really well. And reaching your hand in an air pocket, it's not bad at all. You do feel the flipper tab a little bit, but other than that, really nothing really catching you. You can see I'm having no effort sticking my whole hand down in the pocket, and it slides in and out so nice. It does carry really, really well. Now, deployment, that's one of my favorite things about this. It is primarily meant to be a little flipper tab. It's primarily meant to be a flipper knife, obviously, but this tiny little hole they put in the blade, man, doesn't that look like it just wouldn't do anything? It is so perfectly placed and very well chamfered and very comfortable. That tiny little deployment hole works better than some of the big Spidey holes, other stuff like that I've used. It works really well. It's perfectly placed for both thumb flick and Spidey flicking. It's really good. And it's pretty drop shotty too. Yeah, you have a tiny bit of wrist, but not much. Yeah, it's really well done on the deployment. It is a lot of fun to play with and a lot of fun to look at. And that's kind of what my conclusion is. It's not horribly overpriced. Yes, it is a completely unknown company, but to a lot of us, it does look like they've been around for a while. I think maybe I just didn't pick up on it. But American Buffalo Knife and Tool, ABKT, whatever you want to call them, $44.95. A knife that is very fun and compelling to look at. It's fun and compelling to fidget with. And at this price, when you compare it to other Chinese-made, D2 flippers, it's right in line with everything else, if not a bit cheaper than a lot of them. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth checking out. Looks good, fun to play with. Under $50, I don't know what else you want. It's a pretty cool knife, and I love that hole in the blade. Just where they put it, man. A lot of companies could learn some stuff from that. So I don't know how much ABKT designs these and how much they're just buying designs from other companies. But in this Elite series, I definitely get the feeling that they designed them themselves. But very, very cool knife. Definitely go check them out. abktinc.com. I will try and remember to put a link down below, but if I don't, I apologize. But go check them out. And who knows, you might see this knife in a giveaway at some point or something like that. Yeah, they provided it to me gratis, so I'll probably pass it on to somebody. Hope you guys have enjoyed this very much. I've been Brian. And if you stuck around this long, comment what you think about the sound. I just did upgrade a whole bunch of sound, and I got a new phone and stuff. So hopefully video quality and audio quality is going to get better. I'm still learning this new microphone, but hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.